Anyway, this is a 90-second clip from a new film I've just finished called Luna Mesa. And this is Luna. She's wandering around this place looking for something called a tachyon converter. And what the tachyon converter does is take random bits of information and constructs a reality, which is kind of what I'm going to do with my talk today. The reason I'm showing this clip is because of the landscape. A lot of what I'm going to talk about is landscape. But when I showed this movie in London, somebody said, "Did you shoot this on another planet?" And I said, "Yes, Utah." And then they said, "Isn't that a pretty square state?" And I said, "No, we have 6 corners, not 4. Then, of course, came the inevitable question, how many wives do you have? Why can't I get a drink in Utah? Do people still ride horses? And have you ever seen an Indian? And I'm not making this up. At that point, I realized I lived in a pretty special place. I love Utah. And I think what most of the world knows about it, they probably got through looking at movies. This clip's about done here. Let's see. Oh, when I was asked to talk about the history of film in Utah, I thought to myself, I don't know a darn thing about it. But I've been making films here for 40 years, so I guess I sort of am history at this point. I'm going to show some clips and explain why Utah is the ideal place to make the kinds of movies I make, which a lot of people think make no sense at all. And my answer to that is that if the universe has no intrinsic meaning or purpose, why should my film? With that in mind, I've broken my lecture into 4 parts, all having to do with Utah's existential landscapes that make us all ask the question, who am I, and what in the hell am I doing here? Part 1 is going to be the city. You know, sometimes downtown Salt Lake City almost feels inhabited. I've been down there after dark and actually seen people. They're mostly in their cars trying to get out of town, but this emptiness, this barren landscape is both a blessing and a curse when it comes to shooting. On one hand, you can set up a camera just about anywhere and nobody gives a darn. On the other hand, if you're trying to film a crowded sidewalk, about the only way to do it is hire your friends and homeless people to run around downtown Main Street, which is what I did in my film Plan 10 from Outer Space. Now, it's true that a lot of films have been shot in downtown Salt Lake City, but I think Plan 10 from the Outer Space is the only one in which seagulls actually attack aliens from the planet Kolob. Plus, there is something deeply satisfying about watching your hometown being destroyed by Karen Black in a spaceship. So I'm going to show a clip from that. Oh. Let's see. Well, how do I do that? Where's our tech guy again? There we go. I think I got it.
What is that?
Plan 10 from outer space has begun. miracle happened. Hordes of seagulls left the dump and headed for town to fight the invaders. The birds fought valiantly, but were soon overwhelmed by superior firepower.
Part one, the city. Part two is the desert. In the movies I make, I like to think of landscapes as characters. And we have pretty much every kind of character in Utah except jungle. And I think if we did have jungle, it would probably be within a short drive of where we're sitting right now. We have mountains, we have deserts, we even have a seashore crammed with brine flies, all within a short drive. This makes Utah an ideal place to make movies. Anyway, in my movie Reuben and Ed, Reuben is wandering around the desert with a hubcap on his head trying to find the perfect spot to bury his frozen cat. I needed a special landscape character for my story, and lucky for me, Utah has some of the silliest rocks in the world. So that's where I went. Part three, the mountains. When I'm there, I often ask myself, how high am I? And then the next question is, where's the bug spray? But mountains are an important part of the film industry. We have honest-to-God movie stars who live in our mountains. Robert Redford, Mitt Romney. Mitt hasn't been in a movie yet, but I have asked him to star in my new film, Welcome to the Rubber Room. Anyway, if history tells us anything, it is that skiing is always better going downhill, which brings me to Redford's historically insignificant film, Downhill Racer. I've watched Redford go downhill, but I've never seen this film, but I'm sure it was shot around here somewhere. Mountains are an important character in my movie, Delightful Water Universe. In this movie, I have an environmentalist named Tiwi Tempo Swakama, a homage to our very own Terry Tempest Williams, only my Swakama talks like Elmer Fudd. Anyway, Swakama is leading a washed-up reporter on an existential journey to find an eco-terrorist that lives in a treehouse and might, in fact, be Bigfoot.
The trees were thick, and the rocks were sharp, and the deer watched through brown sad eyes as Swakama blazed a trail up the gulch. And Vicious was right behind her because what else could he do?
Bigfoot's gonna talk?
Oh, sure, you bet.
And you're positive he has something worth saying, right? He knows all about Delightful Water Universe, and there's a conspiracy that's about what again?
You little Poto, ask him.
And he's gotta come clean about the windshield wiper hat. He's gotta explain that. If he doesn't, that's a deal breaker. God, I can't believe I just said that. Well, at least I'll get an interview with a crackpot who burns up billboards and lives in a treehouse. Yeah, that's got Pulitzer written all over it.
On they marched, over one hill and a dell and two glens. Then they came to a marsh.
Did you bring your waiters?
I forgot.
Figures. That means we go around.
And so they did. Deeper and deeper into the woods they went.
Cookie. I think we ought to dinner. We're really close now.
Not a treehouse.
Oh, since we have trees, it's a treehouse. He's not going to want to talk to us, so we must convince him.
Wait a minute. You said he wanted to tell his story.
Where's your lasso?
Huh?
Your lasso! Your lasso!
Oh, you mean my lasso?
Yes, you're going to go in there and you're going to lasso that asshole Bigfoot.
That wasn't part of the plan. Besides, I don't have a lasso.
Okay, then. Go in there and scout him out, yo. And I'll conk him on the noggin with this wall.
Oh, yeah, that'll convince him to talk. I got a better idea. Why don't you go in there and scare him out here, and I'll conk him on the noggin with this log.
You know so I'm a fraidy cat.
That's ridiculous. I've been in this business 20 years, and fear has never been a part of it.
Bigfoot is in that treehouse, and he's probably acting like a total dope this very second, and you, Mr. Fraidy Cat, won't go in there and get your story.
Oh, for hell's sake. now. See him doing it? Here I go.
I'm going to rush right into this next clip because my time's running out. It should be about right. Anyway, the last landscape is the Salt Flats, probably the most existential place on the planet.
So here I am at the Salt Flats. I don't know if anyone can appreciate what a really strange place this is unless you're out here. I think that when someone such as myself is actually trying to film reality, that the Salt Flats is a perfect place to do that, because reality out here is at its starkest. It's naked. Naked reality. What we have here is a dead beetle. I'm going to get a close-up of him. Frozen in his tracks. But if this beetle could have seen what he was walking out towards, which is 100 miles of burning salt, maybe he'd have turned around. Instead, he only made it about 200 yards out onto the salt pan here before he died, and will remain frozen in this position forever. Kind of makes you think. You know, there are times in a man's life when he has to say, how did I ever get here doing this? And I think this is one of those times for me. I mean, I had a promising career at one time. I lived in Hollywood, and I knew Sean Penn and Madonna. Warren Beatty actually called me up and asked me out to dinner. And now, I'm out here. Did I take a wrong turn somewhere? Maybe it was the right turn.
Anyway, thank you, and I'll turn this over to our next speaker, who hopefully has a better performance than I do.